You're out of your mind.
It was lying right next to you. You had plenty of chance. You took it. You've got it on you now. Give it back.
Hey, take it easy. Nurse, can't you get him an aspirin or something?
Orderly. Sheriff. You're not leaving this room till they find that scalpel.
Sure you got enough help? How about the fire department?
What is it, Dr. Brooks?
This man has stolen a scalpel. He's got it hidden on him. I want him searched.
Hand it over, Biddle.
I ain't got it, Doc.
You sure there's one missing?
I checked out 3, Dr. Wharton. We've only found 2.
He's had every opportunity to take it. Miss Blake and I had our backs to him most of the time. The scalpels were lying right here on the instrument table. And all he had to do was...
Glad you didn't search me. I was afraid maybe he'd slipped it under my sheet or something.
Take him back to his room.
Nobody would have believed me. Who'd take my word around here against the word of a doctor?
I don't know how it got into my pocket.
Well, it's been a long, hard night.
You think I'm imagining things?
I think you're exaggerating the importance of a pathological Negro hater.
His kind hasn't been important to me since I was a kid. I've got a thick black skin by now. But this one thinks I've murdered his brother.
Well, let him. You know you didn't. You couldn't have. You removed less than 10 drops of fluid.
But he's got to know that. Dr. Wharton, there are Negroes who are pathological white haters. If I were a white man and one of them thought I had murdered his brother, I'd be afraid too. I've got to have that autopsy.
It's occurred to you, hasn't it? The autopsy could show you were wrong.
What chance would you say?
Maybe 50-50?
Without it, I'm all wrong.
Well, Mullen won't authorize one without consent of the family.
Why not?
He thinks it contrary to the best interests of the hospital. The police record shows the existence of another close relative.
Another brother?
No, a wife, the dead man's wife. Last time he was booked, he listed her as nearest of kin. Mrs. Edith Biddle.
Where can I call her? Is there a phone number?
Only an address. They had quite a time finding it. Seems she moves about quite a bit. Right now, it's 351 Front Street. Want to come along?
Oh, but aren't you on duty?
By now, as far as I'm concerned, you're a case. My name's Dr. Wharton. I'd like to talk to you.
Whatever you're selling, I don't want any. I feel fine.
I'm not selling anything. This is important.
Ain't it always? Some other time, Buster.
Mrs. Biddle, if you just let me explain.
Who'd you say?
Aren't you Mrs. John Biddle?
Nobody by that name lives here.
Maybe you'd rather straighten that out with the police.
What's it to them?
Stop being silly. Open the door.
All right. So what, Dr. Wharton?
What makes you think I'm Dr. Wharton?
Aren't you?
He might be.
Let's not clown.
This is Dr. Brooks. He tried to save your husband's life.
You mean Johnny died in a colored hospital?
Dr. Brooks is on my staff at the county hospital. He couldn't have had a better doctor.
Anybody want a coffee cake? It's on the table. Maybe some coffee.
No, thanks.
Still fresh. I pick them up late at night with the papers. Saves getting up in the morning.
We want you to know how sorry we are, Mrs. Biddle. We realize this is no
Her
time.
name's Johnson. Edie Johnson.
Since when?
Since I divorced Johnny Biddle a year and a half ago. So it's nice of you to drop around and tell me you're sorry, only I'm not interested. Now I'll tell you something else. If you came by here to say that the whole Biddle family was dying and this cigarette butt was the only thing that could save them...
Legally divorced?
Want to see the papers?
Thanks, just the same.
Well, I guess that's all, huh?
I'm afraid so. It's too bad. We came here because we thought you could help us.
What's there to help?
We wanted to examine your ex-husband's body to make sure he died from the causes we think he did. We're not permitted to without permission of the family.
Well, what about Johnny's brothers?
They won't allow it.
For cash, they will.
I'm afraid not.
For 2 bits, they'd sell his eyeballs.
You're fond of them, I can see that.
They're lovable.
And now, Eddie Miller's new recording of In a Sentimental Mood.
I don't know why they bother opening the doors. With these walls, I know just who brushes their teeth and who don't.
Well, goodbye. Thanks, just the same.
Dr. Wharton, Ray, the brother that was with Johnny, is Ray gonna die too?
He's got to be all right. Why?
Nothing, just come to my mind.
Ray Biddle thinks I killed his brother deliberately. We want the autopsy to prove that I didn't, that he died of natural causes.
So?
Perhaps if you could talk to him.
How well do you know Ray Biddle?
Well enough, why?
You seem concerned about him.
Because I asked how he was? You'd ask that about a sick alley cat.
When you were married to his brother, did you see much of him?
He lived with us.
Beaver Canal?
Where else?
Where did you live before you got married?
Where else? Next door to the Biddles, all my life. My folks and their folks got loaded together every Saturday night.
Must have been fun for you kids.
A million laughs.
Just like having 3 brothers.
Just like it. Look, if you don't mind, I gotta get dressed now.
Are you going to work?
I work nights.
What?
I'm a car hop and a drive-in. Anything wrong with that?
No, nothing at all.
It's none of your business what I do. It's a respectable job, and I pay my own way.
And you're not living in Beaver Canal anymore.
Yeah, I've come up in the world. I used to live in a sewer, now I live in a swamp. All of those babes do it in the movies. By now, I ought to be married to the governor and paying blackmail so he don't find out I once lived in Beaver Canal.
The point is, you got out.
5 blocks away.
5 million blocks, what's the difference? You hate Beaver Canal. You hate what it stands for.
You talk like I was a poet or a professor. I found an open manhole and I crawled out of a sewer. Wouldn't anybody?
Ray Biddle wouldn't. He likes Beaver Canal. He likes what it stands for.
I don't even know what that means, stands for. There's no difference in people except the size of the tips. Drunk's a drunk and a pass is a pass if it's a Ford or a Cadillac.
Let's stick to Beaver Canal and Ray Biddle.
You stick to him.
Dr. Brooks asked you a question.
That was 50 questions ago.
Beaver Canal hates Negroes, and so does Ray Biddle. His only reason for refusing the autopsy is because Dr. Brooks is a Negro. And he wants to think that he murdered his brother. There's no difference in people, you say. Will you help us? Will you talk to him?
An autopsy will give me the chance I need to prove I didn't kill his brother.
I don't want any part of it.
Why not?
And I don't want to talk about it.
Coming?
sure you won't have some coffee with you?
Thanks just the same.
There's no sense getting into a depression about this.
I'm not.
A cup of coffee and some talk might help.
There isn't much left to talk about. And there'll be coffee waiting for me. There always is.
Well, then how about asking me in for some?
I'd rather not worry Cora or the rest about what happened.
I want you to stop worrying, too.
Am I to go back on prison watch tonight? Of course. Thanks for all your trouble. Hi.
Hi.
Where's Cora?
Market.
Hi.
You're late.
Something came up. How's the leg, sis?
Okay. The job's gone. They couldn't wait.
Well, standing on it isn't the best thing.
Somebody's got to wash my husband's shirts. Out of work 6 months, and from his shirt, you think he was digging a tunnel under the river.
That 6 months will pay off when he gets to be a mailman.
Shows a great house for studying books. Plenty of books coming in the door, but no money.
The money will come along in time.
I want to see it.
How long has Cora been gone?
Ought to be here by now. She's picking up some whipping cream.
Whipping cream? What for?
It'll go good on this apple cake.
Is somebody's birthday?
Never you mind.
It's a surprise.
For whom?
Never you mind.
For me. Hey, what is it?
You'll know when it's time. Go get some sleep.
I won't sleep.
Beat it.
I think it's silly going all that fuss. Apple cake, whipped cream.
Don't hurt nothing to put on the dog. Makes a good impression.
That depends on whom you're trying to impress.
Old Dr. Clark, he lives high. Show him that you live high, and he'll think high when it comes to paying money.
Dr. Clark, so that's it.
Well, ain't that just what we've been talking about?
I'm going to sleep.
Hey, Lou, what's the capital of South Dakota?
Who knows?
Boy, you couldn't get to be a mailman. Sure, maybe you could deliver babies, all right, but you couldn't deliver no letters.
Luther home yet?
Just went to bed.
Take these in for me, will you?
He didn't know the capital of South Dakota. You know what I said? Boy, I said, maybe you could deliver them babies, I said, but you sure can't deliver no letters.
Hello, honey.
I've been worried. Where have you been? I waited as long as I could to have breakfast with you.
Dr. Wharton and I had to go on an errand.